This TV writer convinced everybody she was dying of cancer. Here we go again. Her coworkers supported her. She even used her fake illness and other people's life circumstances into a TV show without their permission. And you've probably seen the show before. So yeah, this is all fine and dandy, except she never had cancer in the first place. That and just a million other lies. Why are we lying all the time? Let's get into it. Elizabeth Finch. I just want to say, before I really get into this story, I want to tell you that I read that when she was 18 years old, in 1996, she wrote a play called Daddy's Home, which is about her having an abusive father. That she didn't have one. Her mom sobbed the whole time. I think her mom was like, what the hell? But it won a ton of competition. So that's just like a little prequel to what's going on, all right? So she wrote this thing. She's a victim, obviously. So in 2008, Elizabeth Finch became a True Blood, like an assistant on True Blood. She was an assistant for a while, and then she ended up becoming a writer. And then she moved on to Vampire Diaries. She was a writer there for a while. And then she was like, you know what? I only want to move on to human drama. I only want to move on to things I can take for my own illnesses. But she interviewed with Shonda. Yes, that's right. Shonda, aka Shondaland, who made Grey's Anatomy and a bunch of other Scandal. I actually can't think of any more names of shows, but I know she wrote like a million shows and they're all like crazy dramatic good. So she interviewed to be Shonda's assistant at Grey's and she didn't get the position. And she was kind of like, all right, well, whatever. I'll probably never watch the show anyway. She fell in love with the show. She watched the show and she fell in love with it. In a later podcast, she actually mentions that she had like memorized every episode. Like she watched it so much that it was just like ingrained in her head, which like, you know what? I'm not gonna knock her for. I was kind of doing that in high school. Not really, but I do think Grey's Anatomy is one of those shows where people have, it's kind of like almost like The Office, but in a flip sense. Like people like to watch The Office over and over and over because it's a comfort show. They go to bed with it. And I know so many people who watch Grey's Anatomy over and over and over. Hello. Mainly one, because it's not even done yet. How many goddamn seasons of the show do they need? Is Meredith Grey even there still? I don't know. But Grey's Anatomy is one of those that you can kind of watch a million times. And I feel like there's so much, literally so much happens in that show. If you've never seen it, think of any tragedy, any tragedy you could ever think of happened. Bus crash, plane crash, bombing, shooting, you name it, they've done it, all right? It is a good show, and I completely get why this woman had watched every episode. A little odd that she had memorized every episode, but it's okay. I kind of was like that with Friends. Side note, when I was in high school, I was so obsessed with the show Friends that when it wasn't on TV, I would read the scripts online because it felt like I was watching it. I don't know. Anyways, so in 2012, she sends one of her really close friends. They had actually dated before. They dated briefly and it didn't work out, but they're like lifelong friends. So she sent her friend the book, The Fault in Our Stars, I think it's what it's called. And her friend received it, and I guess they always like exchange gifts and stuff. Her friend is like, reads it, and she's like, oh, this is a story about someone with cancer. And she said in this interview that Elizabeth was really good at like indirect communication and would always just give signs of things. The qualities of many toxic people. But her friend read this book and she was genuinely like, oh my God, Elizabeth has cancer. You know, she got scared. So she asked her about it, and Elizabeth told her that she had a rare bone and spine cancer, okay? And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, it is terminal. I knew you were gonna ask. Her friend offers to come with Elizabeth to one of her treatments, and she's like, yeah, that's fine, but please, like, wait in the car. So Elizabeth goes in, and her friend is realizing how long it's gonna take, and she's like, I'm just gonna go in like the lounge and read and just sit in the air conditioning, whatever. Literally just doing a normal thing anyone else would do. And when Elizabeth was done, she was pissed that she was in there. Like she was mad. At this point, we obviously already know that she was faking cancer. So my thought is, where the hell was Elizabeth during this treatment thing? Like, was she just roaming the hospital? Did she go outside and come back when she was done? Like that, I would love to know. So not too soon after that, her agent called her and said, Shonda Rhimes wants to meet you again. And she got hired on Grey's Anatomy, baby. So Andy Reeser, he's another Grey's Anatomy writer. He was explaining what the writing room is like at Grey's Anatomy. And he was saying how, I'm sure it's like this on most like drama shows, but they're in the writing room for like 10 hours a day. It's emotional. They're obviously coming up with dramatic, suspenseful things that are happening to these characters, real emotions. It's not only about the characters of the show, but it's mostly about the hospital. So there's a lot of medical things they have to deal with and think about. So it's a long time in the writer's room and people really get to know each other and obviously share a lot. And it's just very like close. People get very close. And since Finch knew the show so well, sometimes in the writer's room, she would be like, Oh wait, no, that happened like in earlier seasons. Like she like remembered the show so well that she would point out things. But it does say production did not love the script she was writing, and they also didn't like how she was in the writer's room. And they wanted to fire her. But I think it was Shonda. I'm not positive Shonda, but somebody up there was like, we cannot fire her. Like she has cancer. There's no way. So she stayed. And obviously everyone there was like aware of her cancer and everything. So Elizabeth would be late on deadlines, etc. Her team would be like, it's okay, like take your time. If you need an extension, like we got you, we can help you. They're being very sweet to her because she has cancer and she's still working full time. So most of them are like, holy crap, how is she doing this? And as time went on, she would look more and more not well. She actually did shave her head. So she showed up with a shaved head. She was looking more and more green, people described. So obviously we're thinking makeup, probably. And her coworker actually saw a chemo port in her chest at one point. I can't find a photo. I wish I could find a photo, but there is a photo of her that I'm going to reference later in this story, but she has like a lower shirt on and it's kind of like open right here and you can see the port. And if you don't know what a port is, how I understand it, it's like a port that they put into your chest so it's easier to do chemo so they can just hook it in, hook it out instead of like having to go in and out of your like skin all the time. I think that's what it's for. And Elizabeth would go take breaks to throw up like while they were writing, definitely selling this like, I'm sick, but I'm still a writer. I'm still gonna put my all in. I'm still here. I'm working full time. Like it'll get done. And she did not want to be treated any differently. I mean, obviously she did because she was lying about all this. So she obviously wanted to be treated differently. So at this point she had posted about her cancer on social media. So, I mean, whoever was following her publicly, I don't think she was like huge on social media by any means, but she did get pretty well known in the writer space because she actually wrote an episode about her exact cancer, which on one hand, I mean, anyone can write an episode about cancer, I suppose, but it just feels so sadistic to be pretending you have it and then writing a full-blown episode of someone with that exact cancer. She kind of became like the cancer expert on the show, but the episode with the cancer did super well. It's a rare form of cancer, so I'm assuming that's another part of it. People were probably very happy that they were showing a light on it, and she kind of just became beloved. Then the Me Too movement happened. Of course, Elizabeth had a story because Elizabeth had a story about everything going on in the zeitgeist, in pop culture. She had a connection to everything. Okay, so the Me Too movement happens and Elizabeth posted about when she was on the set of Vampire Diaries and the director would harass her, harass others, just be super mean on set. Apparently he said, if I wanted to talk to a nagging I'd go home to my wife. And Elizabeth was like, I would laugh at all his jokes. All day on shoot I would laugh, even through his like clammy hands and weird hugs. Mind you, Finch was only at Vampire Diaries for like 3 seasons. I don't want to say that doesn't negate it. Like obviously that could have happened and I'm not going to say it didn't happen because who fucking knows. I just know this girl lies about so much. It's really hard to believe anything she says is true. But an acting coach on Vampire Diaries worked with her very closely and she was like shocked when she saw this article. She called Elizabeth's supervisor or her old supervisor, and they were just on the phone for like 3 hours and they were going through this, whatever she posted, like line by line, her accusations against this director, and they were literally shocked because none of them had seen any weirdness from this man whatsoever. It doesn't mean it didn't happen still. I'm gonna throw that out there. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. They said they had never experienced any weirdness from this man. The cast never felt like they had anything weird with this man. Like it seemed very out of the ordinary and strange that someone was saying this about him. But who knows? Maybe it happened. So then apparently she gets pregnant. She's very adamant that she needs to get an abortion, obviously, because the chemo will kill the baby. And if she doesn't she'll die. So it's kind of like a pro-abortion. I don't know if it was like a commercial or like a social media thing, but it kind of did the rounds and people were like, oh my gosh, yes. What a brave soul. A little bit after that, Elizabeth was at work and the news came on and there had been an attack on a synagogue in Pittsburgh. So she just left. Everyone was like, what's going on? She just left work. Mind you, she's in LA. Okay, she's in LA, left work. She goes to Pittsburgh and she's claiming she knows 2 women who died in this attack at this synagogue in Pittsburgh. And she was posting things like, I've been here from sun up to sundown, cleaning up my friends' bodies. I'm sorry. Okay, one, you are not going to a crime scene of an attack and cleaning up your friend's body on your own. Like that just doesn't happen. And I mean, she would post really weird, like she'd be like, I'm just cleaning up what's left of her like guts and stuff. And it's like, okay, her coworkers were literally like, damn, she cannot catch a break. So many things keep happening to her. But no one questions that. No one's like, do you really have cancer? Are you really pregnant? Did your friends really die at the attack? Like, those are things you just like can't ask. All right, for this part, I'm going to give a little trigger warning. I'm going to be talking about the R word in terms of SA. So her and one of the other writers became very close, and one of the other writers told Elizabeth a very, very personal story that she didn't really talk to anyone about, but she told Elizabeth that her mom confessed to her that she was conceived because of a rape. Like, she was raped and then had her daughter, and that was the lady, that was the writer, that was Elizabeth's friend. And obviously it was a very personal story. She said she like hadn't even like processed it all the way. It's just something that she's gonna have to like live with and figure out, whatever. So then Elizabeth makes a whole episode about it. I'm just laughing at how insane it is. She makes a whole episode about this exact situation, and the writer is like, what the hell? Like, she obviously can tell that she took her very private story without even asking and making it a whole episode. And it was one of the like comeback episodes after the Me Too movement. So it was like a very like special big episode for Grey's Anatomy. Elizabeth said she wrote that episode all on her own. It's like, yeah, maybe you did write that episode on your own, but you definitely had a collaborator, aka inspired by. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Elizabeth wasn't at home thinking of this story, how powerful and emotional and how scary and whatever that whole situation could be. She probably couldn't even think of such a thing, but she had it right in front of her, so she used it for that episode. And it gave her a lot of praise. That episode did so well for Grey's Anatomy. People were like, you are a prodigy. Like, that episode was insane. This writer that had told her the story never really confronted her. I don't know why. I think she was just like, actually, I don't know why. That is weird. I feel like at least when everything came out, I'd be like, hey, I also think that was fucked up that you did that. But maybe she did, and we just don't know about it. I don't know. So then things start to get a little bit creepy, okay? Elizabeth becomes like obsessed with the character Jo. If you don't know who Jo is, she's played by a woman named Camille. She's such a cute little character. I actually love her character on Grey's. I will be honest, I probably haven't watched the last like 10 seasons. How many seasons are there? 100? I have no idea if she's still on the show. I don't know who's on the show, who's not on the show. If it's a whole new cast, who knows? But basically, she became obsessed with the character Jo. And she would tell stories through Jo. Like, it was very strange. She made Jo in the show, I guess, like, go down this really dark path, and her only option was to go to inpatient treatment to get help for it. And at the same time that this was happening, Elizabeth was having a lot of PTSD and panic attacks about the synagogue attack, and she had to go to inpatient treatment as well. Okay, at this point, if you're one of her coworkers, aren't you like, but it was building up where she was saying, like, if anyone said shooting or gun or anything in the writer's room, like, she would have a PTSD reaction, wouldn't be okay. So they were very accommodating and careful about it. But then she still ended up going to a treatment center. So Jo is going to treatment in the show. Elizabeth is going to treatment in real life. Elizabeth gets to the treatment, checks in as Jo. She says her name is Jo. There was a woman at this treatment facility. Her name was Jen, and she's a big part of this story from here on out. Elizabeth Finch will be very protective over Jen. Jen had a really crazy, sad past. So Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Finch was like the girl there that would make her laugh. They'd go to walks all the time. She was like overly nice to this woman, and someone felt super safe with her. She was like, I'm laughing, like I'm having fun. I have a new best friend. So Jen's story was her husband would physically and mentally abuse her. And he would just do really weird stalkery things. Like, sometimes he would just be standing in their yard. It was so bad. I mean, she knew she was not safe at all. Even in this interview I watched of her even talking about it now, she's like almost having a panic attack talking about it. So it obviously affected her so much. So when she saw him standing in the yard, she kind of had like a PTSD reaction. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know where her kids were. Her husband convinced people she was psychotic. And because of this like dissociation era she's having right now, she lost custody of her kids. So clearly this woman is like, I need a treatment facility. Like, I need help because what the hell, I need my kids back. I didn't get very into detail about that, but I don't understand how you can take kids away from like one mental health problem, but I'm sure I don't know, sure there's ways. So Finch asked her friend, the one she sent The Fault in Our Stars to come visit her. And she's like, come to Arizona, come to this facility and ask for Jo. And her friend's like, what? Okay. Her friend gets there and immediately Finch is like, I just used the TV character's name because I didn't want people to know I was here. Because, you know, she's very famous. People would definitely know that she's a writer for Grey's Anatomy. Like, she also tells this friend that her brother, she realized her brother when they were little, like, brutally assaulted her and just, like, would beat her up and all this stuff, and she's really affected by it. Right before Jen's release, her ex-husband, I think his name is Brandon, the scary guy, sends her a video, and it looks so scary. He's just like, I just want you back. He's like, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of me. I just want you back. And she is obviously freaking the fuck out because it is re-triggering her. She doesn't want to leave the place. She doesn't want to talk to anyone. She is in full PTSD. So, of course, Jo relates to this because she's getting threats from her brother right now as well. Apparently, she got a handwritten letter from her brother saying, you better shut up and I'm coming out there. And Jen is kind of like, that's weird, but okay, we're going through this at the same time. Okay, crazy. And just people just kind of start realizing like the similarities and patterns. And I feel like this is probably the point people start to feel like she's completely lying, but kind of too soon to say, you know what I mean? So they have a week at the facility where your family comes. And this week was Finch's week. So her parents come. They come to your process group. I guess like the group surrounds you and you just like talk to your parents and kind of just talk about what's been going on and et cetera, et cetera. She told her parents this whole brother story and they're just like deer in headlights. Like they're like, what? So that was one thing. And then her parents also bring up her cancer, in turn, which makes everyone go, oh, because she didn't tell anyone there she had cancer. So they're all like, what the hell? This woman just has so many problems, and yet she still prevails. So Jen's obviously having PTSD. She's freaking out. She starts EMDR therapy with a therapist named Carly. And Finch was so obsessed with this EMD therapy. She was like, what is it? Explain it to me. I want to see pictures of it. I'm just like so curious about it. And at this point, Jen was realizing like, I don't know that much about this girl. Like, I don't know much about Finch. And then randomly Finch is like, I have to go leave for work, which is like not what people do at this treatment facility. Like if you're there, you're there. And she was like, I just have to go. I have to go work. I have to. So she left Jen a photo of her in scrubs because I will say during the episode where she stole that like writer story about her mom conceiving her, the production wanted like any female who wanted to be on set for like a specific scene where they roll somebody down like a hallway, and she was in that episode. So she had a photo of herself like in scrubs. So she left that for Jen. And then she tells Jen her name is not Jo, it is Elizabeth Finch. And I write for Grey's Anatomy, etc. And Jen was literally just like, oh, she probably just like didn't want the public to know. It's kind of an easy excuse, I feel like. So Finch comes back to LA and she is ready to write. She writes a whole episode about how Jo does EMDR therapy. And you'll never guess what Jo's therapist name was on the show. That's right. Carly. So Finch knew this EMDR thing so well because she talked to Jen about it so much. And so she would write in the show like real things that would happen to real people that did EMDR. Like Jen one time was saying she was doing really well, and then she just like one day felt like she was all the way back and she had to start all over again. She wrote that into the show. So like on one hand, yeah, it was probably really believable, but on the other hand, she's just stealing people's trauma. And that episode was highly praised, and they were like, you encapsulated mental illness so great. We love you. Be the president. Be the president, Elizabeth Finch. So Jen was now living in a safe house because she was too scared to live at home, obviously with her husband out there being all crazy. She was having a really hard time. She was scared all the time. Her goal was to get her kids back, and her and Finch would talk all day, every day. Like they were just texting constantly. So then Jen's ex, as he does, sends her a photo of himself outside of her halfway house, meaning clearly he knew where she was. Also, kind of saying, hey, I'm here. I can kind of do whatever I want. If I need to, I'm here. So Finch offered to fly Jen to LA to get away and she'd be safe there with her. She did that. She actually could not believe she did it. Like she was like, I can't believe I actually went to the airport, got on a plane, got in this car, and now I'm in California and like my husband didn't kill me. Like that was literally her train of thought. She was so scared of this man. So they take this really nice trip up to Ojai, California, and they pull up to this giant house with big gates, and Elizabeth's security there. Confused about that one. Don't know if they're real or not. But it made Jen feel super safe because there were gates, you know, she was like a little gated house, and also there was security there. So obviously she was like, I'm in a good spot. So they're in Ojai, having a great time. And Jen looks at her and she says, I think I really like you. And Finch says back, I really like you too. and they kiss. So now they're a couple, I guess. Finch starts traveling back and forth from Kansas to LA all the time. And at this point in her career writing at Grey's, she is like an executive producer type. Like she's like up there. I mean, she became the default writer for the standalone episodes, which is like kind of crazy. So when Jen gets back to Kansas, her husband's like going crazy, like texting her all these things, but they're not making sense, and posting just like weird music on social media and just being real creepy. And Finch is like, maybe you should come back here. Like Jen's daughter, Maya, who I believe is in like middle school at this time, maybe elementary, but I think middle. I mean, even she was like, somebody's gonna die. Like, this is not a good situation. And at this point, her kids are in state custody. So I think that Jen can see them and everything, but they're not like in her custody or whatever. So Jen goes to LA. She gets off the plane. She gets in a car and she gets a phone call. And it's a phone call from Child Services. And they're like, can you come in? We need to talk to you about something. And Jen is like, I can't, like, I just landed in LA, like, what happened? Because she's like, I know when they can't talk about it over the phone, it's something really bad. And she's starting to freak out. She's like, I don't know, just please tell me, like, is everyone okay? She's like afraid of her kids, you know? She's like, are my kids alive? Or what happened? Did something happen? Do I not have custody at all now? Like, what's going on? Her ex-husband, Brandon, committed suicide. So Jen gets to the studio. Finch runs out, hugs her. Finch goes into the office, grabs all of her things, and she's like, I'm leaving. I'm going to Kansas. Like, I cannot be here right now. And they're kind of like, what? She tells them her brother tried to commit suicide and is on life support. So that is her reasoning for going wherever she's going. And eventually she lets him know she has pulled the plug on her own brother. So they get to Kansas and they have to pick Jen's kids up. And Jen is like, this is not how I wanted to introduce them at all, but like, it is what it is. This is crazy. A lot is happening at this moment in time. But the kids absolutely loved her. Like, Finch was so fun around them. She'd be like, my wish is your command. You know, she was like a fun older sister, but also like their mom. They had a really good relationship for a while. So Jen's about to get her kids back, and she is so excited. She just has to do like a walkthrough of her house with a social worker. And when she finally gets, she hasn't been to the house since before this all happened because she is in a halfway house. So she goes back to the house that her and her ex-husband were married and lived. It had been completely destroyed. Like, he threw chairs around, glass was broken, drinks everywhere, food like, it was just completely destroyed. And it needed a lot of work. Like, it wasn't just like a messy situation. It was like, I need resources situation. So Finch makes this GoFundMe or some sort of fundraising thing for Jen and sends it to all their coworkers. And she's like, if you can help at all, please send money here. And they raised enough money. Jen was able to hire people. There was also so many people in the community that came to help. Finch was there helping her, throwing everything away. Honestly, this part of the story is like probably the nicest I think Finch has been. Because whether her intentions are good or not, she still did raise money for this woman and like literally went and physically helped her through that. So I'll give her that one. And the kids got to the house while, you know, when it was clean and felt new, and they were so happy to be home. Like, they're dancing around and they're just like stoked about life. Life is back. We're with mom again. Woohoo. So that night, Finch and Maya, who is Jen's daughter, are just sitting on the porch, and Finch is like, I kind of feel sad. She says she feels sad because she's missing the Emmys. She said, I was supposed to get one, but I turned it down. Everyone is texting me asking where I am. But then she starts to cry and she's like, but there's no place I would rather be. But Maya was so grateful that she was there to help them. And she also just really loved her. Like, she felt like she was like another mom to her at this point. And she was like doing all these celebratory dances for her because of the Emmy and like trying to make her happy and stuff. And she was doing all she could. But Finch was sad that she didn't get her Emmy, that she was not nominated for. Surprise, surprise. Not nominated at all. A coworker actually said the day that the Emmy nominations came out, Finch's vibe was bad. So she was obviously hoping to get that Emmy nomination, but the day after Thanksgiving, Finch proposes. And the kids are like, we've only known this woman for 4 weeks, but we do love her. So it's kind of like, I don't know. Ultimately, they were happy about it because they had pretty much no parents at one point, and now they feel like they have 2. And they're like, okay, well, something like literally happens to mom, like now we have Finch. So it makes sense why they're like, you know, good and bad about that. So Jen's son got a huge role in the Nutcracker, and they threw a big party for him. He was accomplishing one of his dreams. And later that day, Finch got sick. She says, I know I have a kidney stone because I've had one before, and I only have one kidney because chemo destroyed my other kidney. So she's like, okay, I have one kidney and it's throwing stones. This is probably not great. Jen was also a nurse, mind you. She was shocked to find out that she didn't have a kidney. She had no idea. She was like, what? She was like, there's no scar? Like, no, nothing? Obviously, if you're a nurse, you're gonna know the signs and symptoms of the past surgery. You know what I mean? So she insisted on going to the hospital with Finch. She's like, we gotta get this figured out. So the doctor is tapping down her back. And I guess normally if you have a kidney stone, like that will make you rage. Like that will make you go insane if somebody's like touching down there around your back, lower back, whatever. And she was just fine. Like she wasn't reacting whatsoever. They do a CT scan. The doctor comes back and said, her kidneys, with an S, look fine. Her kidneys look fine. Not much info about Jen's opinions, thoughts after this. If I was getting married to someone and they told me they didn't have a kidney and then the doctor was like, no, you have 2 kidneys, I'd be like, okay, well, clearly you're lying. This is a doctor. So it's March 2020. COVID happens, obviously, and Finch she works like across the street from the house in this little like workspace, and she's always there. Like she never comes home. She's there from like dusk till dawn. She was in Zoom meetings with the other writers trying to plan the next season. It was also, like I said, COVID, so everything was kind of up in the air, I'm sure, with filming and when would we even start production, etc. But she really wasn't coming home. Like the kids would run over some like food for her and stuff, and that would be fine, but she just wouldn't really come home. And when she would be on Zoom, she would just like be on the floor and like be closing her eyes and stuff. And like to her coworkers, they were like, maybe she's overwhelmed with this like momhood of it all, or maybe she's like not as happy there. So the COVID vaccine comes out, and obviously she's very immunocompromised. For some reason, she didn't want to get the vaccination. Maya was so ready to go back to school. She was like, I want to go see my friends for the last couple, whatever. But since Finch wasn't getting vaccinated, she was like, well, I don't want to go to school and then come back and give her maybe COVID. And she literally has cancer and like 1 kidney. Because Finch was very adamant, like COVID will kill me. So she was just like, I cannot get this. It will kill me. No one bring it to me. So it's like she's kind of putting herself in this position where like she wasn't letting anyone go anywhere because they couldn't come back with it. It was bizarre. But she would go to like hotels randomly and right there. So it's like, okay, are you scared of COVID or not? So during lockdown, her PTSD of the synagogue attack was really bothering her. If she saw a gun on a show or a movie or anything in the same universe as a gun, she would have to lay down. She would get nauseous. She only wanted Jen to like be with her and cuddle her and stuff. She did not want the kids around. And Jen was starting to notice like she has a crisis like every month. It very much seems like whenever anyone else is getting attention, a crisis has to happen to Finch. This is what Jen is noticing, and thank God she's noticing because, girly. A new trigger actually appeared for Finch, and that trigger was rainy days. And she said it was raining the day that she was cleaning up those bodies in Pittsburgh, so the rain is really freaking her out. And Jen's like, you never had a problem with rain. Like, it's rained a billion times since I've met you. Like, has not rained. And so now Jen is like, I gotta figure this out. Like, things are not adding up. She goes through her social media, which I wish she just did at the beginning. She scrolls all the way down, and there are many photos of Elizabeth Finch at like a Halloween party the day of the synagogue attack and the day after. So she wasn't even in Pittsburgh. She wasn't there cleaning up anything. She didn't know anybody at the synagogue. She was at a damn Halloween party looking like Wednesday Addams. And I mean, Finch had posted like sun up to sundown, I've been cleaning bodies. And it's like, oh no, you were at brunch. You were at brunch in LA. And then Jen sees a photo of Finch on set with the hat on, with her port. Again, I wish I could find this photo. Can't find it anywhere. And Jen is aware that they are for chemo, obviously. But it's extremely bizarre to her because there is no scar. She's like, it is so abnormal not to have a scar from a port. Like, it's almost impossible. And at this point, Jen's just like, she doesn't have cancer. She's like, I met a woman in a mental institution, literally. So now Jen wants to confront her. She goes to California. They're driving on a little road trip, and Jen just looks at her and she goes, you don't have cancer. As they're driving, she's like, it's time to tell the truth. Finch pulls in a little parking lot, turns off the car, and just like doesn't speak. Again, Jen says, you don't have cancer. Finch takes a deep breath and she says, I did have cancer. I don't have it anymore. Jen is literally just like, you don't have cancer. Like, she just keeps saying, you don't have cancer. And Finch finally says, I have been untruthful. However, she is showing no emotion, like no remorse. Jen's like, you weren't even at the synagogue. Her head's blown off. She's just saying all the things. She's like, you weren't at the synagogue. You didn't clean up any bodies. And Finch looked offended, but Jen was just like, I went on Facebook and I looked, and you literally were posting that you were here. But Finch did confess she did not know anyone at the synagogue. So now Jen is remembering when they were at the facility, the handwritten note that Finch received from her brother that's gonna come attack her or whatever. And Jen is starting to flip the hell out. Like, she is freaking, she's hyperventilating. She's afraid to dissociate because I don't completely understand this, but she says if she like has that episode again, like her kids can get taken away. I don't completely understand it, but Finch also knows this. So Jen's like, I need to get out and go on a walk. Like, I cannot be around this right now. I need to process. She calls her therapist Carly and she's like, she's not real. None of this is real. It was all made up. I don't know who my wife is. And Finch promised her she would do anything it would take to gain her trust back. She's like, I will talk to everybody. I will confess. I will take accountability. So Finch would be at home, like in Kansas or whatever, and she'd be on the Zoom calls with her co-writers, and she would just be like, she's like, I'm safe, but I'm not doing well. And they're just like, what is happening? She's still like half asleep on these Zoom calls, and they're very curious and concerned what's happening over there, but no one's really like asked her yet for some reason. Jen's afraid to kick her out because how big and how crazy her lies are. She's like, I just don't want anything else bad to happen, to be honest. Like, her coworkers were even like, did this lady Jen like trap Finch in Kansas? They were like, why is she acting so bummed and not herself and just, she's safe, but what? And Jen did not want to tell the kids at this point. Like, she wanted to protect them, and she did not say what was happening with Elizabeth at the time. She was just keeping it in, but she was acting so weird. Like, her kids noticed she was acting bizarre. Her son got mad one time because he was like, you don't do anything, Finch does everything. And obviously this made her go crazy. And also Finch was very much like, I will tell people, I'm just busy. She starts making excuses of like why she's not telling people. Like, you can't force someone to just confess something that they've had such a hard time with, blah, blah, blah. So she's just kind of backtracking. She's like, I don't really want it. Jen gives Finch her ring back and says, I don't want this back until you come clean to everybody. So she gives her a ring back. And then Finch says, I'm leaving to go talk to Carly, my therapist. So Carly could no longer be a therapist to Jen because now she's a therapist for Elizabeth Finch. And it doesn't say what exactly happened, but context clues I can pick out. I think she manipulated this therapist, I'm going to be honest, because she started to manipulate people around Jen. So I think that's obviously what happened. As a therapist, I cannot believe that happened because she obviously was with Jen first and knows of Elizabeth. I feel like that's like a breach of something, but okay. But to keep custody of her kids, Jen had to keep going to therapy. So now she's like, okay, now I have to find a new therapist and like redo all of this. It's just terrible. And she's really scared to fight Finch about this because she's like, I feel like she's gonna turn this on me. She's gonna say something or do something so crazy that like my kids are gonna get taken away and she's gonna get custody of them or something. Like, this is the last thing this lady needs right now after everything she's been through. Finch turned Jen's friends kind of against her. Finch would text Jen screenshots of her friends, Jen's friends, saying things like Finch is a lot more fit of a mom than Jen is. Jen is like so scared because she's like, okay, this is actually happening. Like, what's happening? She doesn't want to dissociate because she could get her kids taken away, but all this is happening to her all at once. And in March 2021, Jen is like, I need to go to treatment. Like, it is my only choice. I cannot experience dissociation. Like, I cannot experience any more anxiety. Like, I need to go to treatment. She still hadn't told her kids what was going on, so they were kind of mad. They were like, my mom's definitely keeping a secret from us and she's being so weird. And they would tell Finch this. They were like, I wish you would just tell us. She's not being a very good mom. Like, she's not present at all. So again, Jen is just really scared that she's gonna lose custody of her kids. Everyone loves Finch. Finch. They try to do marriage therapy. It's just them two and a therapist. They thought that was the best way to go about it. And Jen was like, I think this is perfect because a therapist has a confidentiality agreement where all these lies that Elizabeth has been saying, like, she can tell the therapist and she can be she can be safe knowing that she's not going to like spread it around or whatever. And during the therapy session, Finch was like, I'm going to be honest. She came clean about everything she was asked about. She said she was lying because she wanted attention. It was like an addiction. She said she never had any attention in her life, and then she started to get some, so I had to keep going. Then the therapist asked about her brother. The brother that she said brutally assaulted her, told her parents about it. He wrote the note that he's gonna come find her. She tells this therapist that, well, he would pinch me in the car and he would like take my remote and throw my remote. Huh? Oh, so you mean like a normal brother and sister relationship? Jen is flabbergasted. The therapist is in tears. I don't know if she's more impressed that she just like confessed everything or what, but she's in tears. Jen made a list of people that Finch needed to talk to, and Finch promised to talk to all the people. And this was all in front of the therapist. September of 2021, they went to a park and they FaceTimed Finch's parents. And Finch confessed everything to her parents. Her mom was so upset. She's like, I cannot believe all of these things you have put us through. She's like, I haven't slept in nights. I'm scared all the time. I'm scared for your health, for everything. Like, apparently she had cut them out of her life and they were devastated. And Finch wasn't even like, I'm so sorry, anything. She was like over it. Like, she was just like annoyed, which obviously made Jen feel like, who is this person? Jen brought Finch back to the house so Finch could tell the kids. And all she really said was, I fucked up. She says, I've been lying to you and everyone, and all I can say is I'm sorry and ask forgiveness. And they're pissed. Like, Maya's like, you met us the day our dad died, and you've been lying to us the entire time. And apparently Finch was just sitting there like a brick wall, like no sympathy, no empathy. It was just like... And it was just like another catastrophic loss for those kids. Finch grabbed her bag, said she wanted a divorce, and left. So when Finch got back to LA, she told coworkers that Jen accused her of just wanting her family for a story and can't talk to the kids anymore because they're only for the story, which obviously isn't true, but this is what she told her coworkers. And it was super convincing. I mean, people there were like, I mean, dang, like maybe her ex-husband had just like manipulated her so much and like she just needs, you know, they were very still on Finch's side about it, because Finch was making her look terrible, obviously. So Jen's posting a little bit here and there on social media, kind of in an odd way where you'd see and be like, uh-oh, this person's losing their mind. Like, she would just post vague things like, when you thought everything was amazing, but it was all a lie, just stuff like that. And obviously people are seeing it, and the people that don't know what happened are like, this woman's insane. Like, what's going on? So Jen was like, how do I expose this? How the hell do I let the world know that this is who this woman was? She remembered that she had Shondaland's email. She had Shonda's email, and she emailed her the entire story from top to bottom that she could remember about her relationship with Elizabeth Finch and every lie she ever told her. She was really afraid people wouldn't believe her, but she sent it anyway because she was like, I just need to try. And apparently one day in the writer's room, Finch wasn't there, but a showrunner one day was like, you guys, when you learn what I know, you are going to flip out. And they were like, well, what? Like, can you tell us? And she's like, I don't know completely all the information or where it's coming from, but Finch doesn't have cancer. There was no kidney transplant. She wasn't at the synagogue. There was no abortion. Her brother is alive. He's a practicing doctor in Florida. Someone in that room actually described her as an emotional terrorist, which I think is hilarious. One of the guys was like, it's just so much harder to do all that than to just be good at your job. It's like the most humane answer is like, it's so much easier to just do your job well. You don't have to do all this, woman. And it was actually really nice because a lot of people from Grey's cast and production writers emailed Jen saying they believed her and, you know, they cared about her. And I don't know, I think that was really nice because she was really afraid that no one was going to believe her at all. So Finch makes a statement that she is parting ways with Grey's, but it will always be her family, and she is going to focus on her health. And honestly, thank God Jen sent that email because Finch made so much money on other people's story and other people's privacy. I think I read if you write an episode of Grey's Anatomy, it's like 20 grand or something like that. Once it shows again and again and again, it's like $100,000 or $200,000 for like one episode. So she was making bank, and Jen wanted more people to know. So she reached out to Vanity Fair, and a huge article comes out, and it's all over the news. And in December 7th of 2022, she gave an interview and she admits she lied and never had cancer. And this is what she said. She said, what I did was wrong, not okay, fucked up, all the worst. But she blames her brother for how he treated her in their past for the way she is now. So she's not even like taking accountability. She's literally blaming someone else. She also, I guess, in this interview doubles down on this Vampire Diaries director. She kind of actually tried to use this interview as like a comeback. She was like, I would love to work on Handmaid's Tale one day, which like actually kind of scares me. Well, in 2026, she's got a lot of material to work with. Maya, Jen's daughter, opens up Instagram not too long after this and sees that Finch has posted that she's in a hotel in Kansas, which was really scary because that's the same kind of thing that like their dad did. And Jen was freaked out because now it's happening to her again, it feels like, you know? And Finch is just angry and texting Jen and being like, when I die, you'll have a big house in California. Just being like so obnoxious. And I don't know, Jen genuinely thinks that Finch wanted to be with her because she was a nurse and she thought it would give her more credibility that she was with a nurse, for people to believe her ailments, I guess. Now Jen's kids have massive attachment issues. How could you not? They just like don't trust people. It's hard for them to make friends. So that was kind of like, that's like the whole story. And then of course, I had to go to Reddit because I'm like, what is this woman doing? Let me read you a little article. Former Grey's Anatomy writer Elizabeth Finch is being slammed for soliciting donations during the Los Angeles wildfires. You know, like the ones last year. The Palisades, Altadena, all that, yeah. It says Finch, who faked a cancer struggle and was a subject of Peacock's documentary Anatomy of Lies, asked her social media followers to donate by sending money to her directly. However, this didn't impress writer and actress Jamie Denbo, who's appeared on TV shows such as Glow and The Sex Life of College Girls. Denbo reposted Finch's post that says, I guess, like, this is just me, boots on the ground, solicitation that she allegedly wrote to followers. And Denbo's like, it was challenging enough getting dog food while evacuated, and I was at a safe place. This is for people who have virtually nothing and have pets with basic needs. This person is a scammer and a liar, she wrote. Unless you want to send her donations of 69 cents for her cancer treatments that she doesn't have, or perhaps in memory of her late brother, he's alive, or anything else she has lied about, everything, do not donate to Elizabeth Finch. Iconic. Damn, if I just saw someone post that and had no other context, deep dive incoming. Finch told The Hollywood Reporter that she had only good intentions posting about the wildfires. I recognize, given my history, people might be skeptical of my fundraising efforts. She told the outlet, I'm trying to make amends in many ways that I can, including helping my community, especially during these difficult times. Okay. So many organizations are calling for gift cards because they're overwhelmed with physical donations, and I don't want people's pets' needs to get lost in the shuffle. Yeah, right. When I saw that, I was like, what is she doing now? I assumed, you know, she's probably not writing anymore. Maybe she's, I don't know, wrote a book or some shit. Maybe she's on OnlyFans. But then I saw she was probably being scammy about the wildfires. I mean, it just makes complete sense. Actually, I wonder if she has Instagram. Let me see really fast. Elizabeth Finch, do you think it's forever? Okay, so I don't think she's on Instagram, which is probably a good thing. I don't know. Let me know if you liked this. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And let me know if you want me to cover anything. Again, I love just stories where people lie so hard. I'm not really super into like true crime murdery vibes, more of this kind of stuff. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you next time I post. Love you. Bye bye.